From an entire continent to a slew of bosses, old school RuneScape has expanded the world of Gielinor a lot over its decade-long life, and I'm here to see all of it. From a fresh main account, we're gonna complete every quest, and fight every boss, and hopefully get rich while doing so. This is Building a Main Old School Edition. If you're enjoying the content and want to see more live, make sure to join us over on Twitch 1 hour after this video goes live, where we're working on the next big goal of the account. And for now, drop us a sub and let's get on with the video. Last time, we completed our first quest-focused goal by getting the Barrow's gloves, and now it's time to change gears. Achievement diaries offer some excellent rewards such as redirected teleports, teleport items, and other quality of life improvements. The catch? Well, the requirements. From high skill levels to hunting 1,000 of these, let's just say they're not free. And don't worry, I've watched Elysian's video. I'm not about to speedrun all the hard diaries. However, we're going to take a healthy slice out of that pie by going for all the medium diaries. With requirements in the 50 to 60 range and just a few more quests than we've already completed, they'll make coming back to individual hard diaries later much more manageable. And the first requirement we're going to be going over is 50 Slayer, which we need for the Wilderness diaries. So, Slayer is kind of like my palate cleanser content. Too many quests? Slayer. Too much fishing? Slayer. You get the idea. This means that Slayer is just going to be something that ticks up in the background as we do a task here or there, rather than having a big focus on it. We'll save that focus for an upcoming episode. Instead, let's turn our attention to runecrafting. The highest direct requirement for runecrafting is 23, however, we need to do the What Lies Below quest, which needs 35. And obviously, the best way to train skills early on is questing, so let's knock out a few of those real quick. The Slug Menace actually serves a dual purpose for us. As well as giving us a bunch of runecrafting XP, it also gives us access to the Proselyte armor, which has the highest prayer bonus of any armor in the game. So we'll be using this a lot for Slayer, and you even use it for the other styles when prayer matters more than accuracy. And to finish off the last couple of levels, we headed over to Guardians of the Rift. But I'll be honest, in these two levels, I didn't actually learn how the minigame worked, so we'll come back to this at a later time. And with that, What Lies Below is complete, and the highest runecrafting requirement has been met for the medium diaries. And now, let's actually complete our first medium diary. And for that, we're going to look over to the Lumbridge medium diaries. The highest requirements for this are 50 range and 42 hunter. As for how we've been training hunter up to this point, well, if you remember that quest montage from last episode, one of the quests we completed was Bon Voyage, which unlocks this island called Fossil Island, on which you can do birdhouse runs, which are basically herb runs but for hunter. They give you bird's nests and a bunch of hunter XP, and that's all I've been doing to train hunter. I'd spend more time going into detail on this island, but so far it's just birdhouses and crabs. And there we go, all medium tasks done in Lumbridge and Draenor. Let's go get our reward. The reward for the Lumbridge tasks is the Explorer's Ring. For the medium tasks, you get the Explorer's Ring 2, which gives you 30 low alchemies per day, free Cabbage Patch teleports per day, and free run energy restorations per day. Of all that, the Cabbage Patch teleports are the most useful because they take you straight to a herb patch. Also, all the lamps from these diaries are going to be going into prayer. This isn't directly related to any diary, however we did hit 65 farming. Now this is important because it gives us access to the mid-tier of the farming guild, which gives us another herb patch. The way we got up to 65 farming is I've just been vigilant with doing tree runs, and we'd also started doing hardwood tree runs when we got access to Fossil Island. So in order to get into the farming guild, we need 60% Hasidious favour, which ultimately just means filling up these buckets of compost with saltpeter, and then turning them in. Just one big favour drop all the way to 100. I just got a shield left half from an ammonite crab of all things. What on earth is that luck? The next diary on the list is the Varrock diary. Of all the requirements for this one, there's one notable thorn in my side, and that is the Garden of Tranquility quest. As you may have guessed from the Willows incident, I've got a bit of a black thumb. Thankfully, the precursor, Creature of Frankenstrain, doesn't have any farming in it at all. Somehow, I didn't manage to kill any of the allotments used for Garden of Tranquility, and it was just on to quickly swiping some statues, and job's done. Of course, anyone who's actually done this quest before knows I'm about as full of hot air as the Bloom from Enlightened Journey is, which we happen to do during some of the dead air in that quest. As well as managing to save Tona from being eternally tormented in this rift randomly off to the side of Varrock. And then, to make sure the quest really had the last laugh, you have to wait even more for the white tree to grow its fruit, just to do the last medium diary task, because we'd done all the other tasks during the quest. However, the Varrock medium diary is very much worth doing, because it gives you the Varrock Armor 2, which gives you a chance of mining double ore up to Mithril. You can buy 30 battle staves a day from Zaf if you're into Dailyscape, and the most important one, at least in my opinion, is the Varrock Teleport gets the ability to teleport you straight to the GE, which for us is going to be a massive time save because I can't tell you how many times I've done that run from the fountain to the GE. Next up is the Ardougne medium diary. We already have the Ardougne easy done from way back when, so we just got a few quests to knock out for the Ardougne mediums, those being Watchtower, Hand in the Sand, and Tower of Life. And here we go, with this harvest of a strawberry, we have completed all of the medium tasks in Ardougne, and that means we can go and get our Ardougne Cloak 2, but first I'm going to finish up this herb run. The Ardougne diaries continue to be some of the most rewarding, including stuff like a 10% increased chance to pickpocket when in Ardougne, noted drops from the Tower of Life, 100 free PR essence every day, but most importantly for us, this cape has free teleports a day to the Ardougne farm patch, which is going to help us speed up our herb runs just a little bit more. Next up, Falador. We were only actually missing one requirement for the Falador medium diaries, and that was Skippy and the Mogres. So now that's done, let's just knock out the diaries.
You think you've got my number figured out? A motive born in drought and brevity. And if I'm not the soul of your design, I blatantly decline your remedy. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine. I wasn't always just a single shade, a palette full of gray in reverie.
Okay, not even my music choice can save a diary montage, so I doubt we'll do that one again. As for the diaries themselves, the rewards are not that insane from the Falador mediums. The shield gives a 50% prayer restoration once a day, and you get 10% more XP from the Falador farming patch, though I don't think this includes the tree patch in the garden. I think it's just the one south of Falador. And otherwise it's just a shortcut in the Motherlode mine that I don't think I'm actually ever going to use because it takes you further away from the machine in the middle. And there we go, 53 Hunter achieved entirely through birdhouses. That's the Hunter level requirement for the Kourend and Kourend diary because we need to box trap a Grey Chin. And that means the next diary up is Kourend and Kourend, and the main requirement to doing all of this, other than 53 Hunter, is to do all of the family quests so that you can use the Karadess memoirs to teleport to all 5 locations. Each of those quests has a favour requirement, so we're about to get a nice solid introduction to all the families. First up is Arceus, and these guys are kind of semi-immortal, at least they're immortal as long as the Dark Altar survives, is my understanding, which is exactly what the quest was helping them do. As for the favour with these guys, we got it back when we did the library training for magic earlier on. Next up is Hasidius, and it wouldn't be a quest series without at least one high fail rate agility obstacle. The TLDR here is that the Lord's son has gone missing, and you need to go rescue him by killing a giant snake. As for the favour that we needed to do this quest, we got it earlier when we ploughed their fields for them. And robbed them blind. As for Piscarilius, they've got a gang problem. They're all uniting under one Queen of Thieves, who turns out to be Lady Piscarilius herself, who thought this would be the best way to go about ousting a corrupt counsellor. We got the favour for this quest from the Client of Kourend quest. No one wants to do 0 to 20% Piscarilius properly. As for Shazian, they're investigating a historic expedition to Mount Quidamortem. It was believed that everyone who went on this expedition perished, but maybe that's not the case. Otherwise, you find out some pretty interesting lore and uncover a Dark Altar replica. Honestly, I gotta say I'm really enjoying the lore of Kourend so far. As for getting the Shazian favour, you do that by patching up these wounded soldiers. And now for Lovakenge, the Master Smiths of Kourend. The Forsaken Tower reveals a bunch of lore about how the Winter Todd was contained, and unfortunately the big old doors in front of it are kind of breaking, so we are uncovering the secrets of how they were made so that we can repair them. As for getting the Lovakenge favour, I kind of don't really want to talk about it, I'll be honest. I'll just say, look up the spider trick. There we go, Eagle's Peak complete, which we actually need for quite a few of the diaries because of the eagle transport, but for the Kourend diary, we need the box traps. Well, with all the requirements out the way, that's the easy and medium Kourend and Kebos diaries done out the way, and don't worry, I'm not going to make you sit through another montage of doing all the tasks. As for the notable rewards from the Kourend and Kebos diary, the easy gave us a double drop rate on the Xeric's talisman, which is going to be very nice when we go for that. And the mediums gives us free access to Crabclaw Isle, which helps you avoid some of the competition of sand crabs. And a diary reward wouldn't be complete without a daily. In this case, dynamite. For the Karamja diary, we need to get ourselves up to 65 fishing. So the plan is to get 58 through fly fishing, and then when we hit 58, which will be in just a few short moments, we'll be heading over to do barbarian fishing because that's when we get leaping salmon. The XP rates for barbarian fishing should be a lot nicer than this, and honestly, the change of scenery, much appreciated. There we go, 60 fishing achieved, and from here on, we can just Admiral Pie to do the task, so I'm going to stop fishing for now, and yeah, just do that task with an Admiral Pie, and otherwise, I need to get up to 61 wood cutting for a different diary, so while I'm in a skilling mood, I'm going to go knock that one out. And there we go. We are 61 woodcutting. That was the highest level requirement I was missing. That is a requirement for the Wieldy diary because you need to chop an ent after defeating it. So the only thing we've got left to do for the Wieldy diary is Between a Rock. And this is the diary I'm looking forward to the least, so let's go get it out of the way. Don't lie, you'd be bricking it too. And after the quest is completed, remember to drop your helmet so that you can make another one. I guess you could just make the first one in the wilderness resource area if you wanted to double up on doing the task and the quest, but I wasn't smart enough to think of that at the time. And this is where I would have put all my encounters with PKers, if I had any. As for the rewards from the wilderness mediums, there's some small things like cheaper entry to the resource area, having more ecumenical keys at the same time, but the main thing you unlock is the ability to fight the solo version of the wilderness bosses. Since I want to kill every boss at least once, those are kind of on my list. Moving on to the Karamja diaries, we needed to do Taiboy One-Eye Trio, so we got that done, and while we were at it, we used the Admiral Pie to fish the raw Karamba one that we needed for the diary. And thankfully, the requirement for the Karamja diary is only one ticket from the Agility Arena. When I was doing Fairy Tale Part 1 on RS3 on my group Ironman, I had to get a Snapdragon, and this was actually the best way to do it. So I've had enough of this place already. And since none of the other requirements were too steep, I'd love to say this was where we were handing in the Karamja medium diaries. However, this little tuber costs 1.5 mil, and I'll be perfectly honest, the rewards from the Karamja mediums right now are not worth 1.5 mil. Even if I went and got the tuber myself, I would rather sell it than use it for the medium diaries. However, completing the hard diaries gives you a teleport on the Karamja gloves that takes you straight to Shiloh Village, which is incredibly useful when you're doing Slayer from Duradel. So when we need to do the Karamja hards, I'll happily finish this task, but until then, this one will sit with one remaining. And then we're heading up north to Relica to work on the Fremennik diary, which first needs us to complete Olaf's quest, which, to be honest, went about as you'd expect. At least the defense XP is nice. However, the only really interesting task is having to run all the way through the Waterbirth Island dungeon past the Dagannoth Kings to come up at the lighthouse. I never actually realized that this dungeon went all the way through to the lighthouse, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. However, we're going to be back here soon because we currently have a Dagannoth's at Waterbirth task, which is a perfect opportunity to try out the DKs. There we go, easy tasks handed in, and the medium tasks handed in. So now we can use the shortcut on Miscellanea to etc., which I don't know how useful that is actually going to be for us, but it kind of reminds me that I do need to unlock my kingdom. Okay, for the next diary, we're going to need 50 fletching, and I took one look at how many darts I would need to buy, and yeah, we're just going to do bows instead. So I'll be right back with 50 fletching. There we go, 50 fletching, all done and dusted, and in total this took us a couple oak longbows, 450-ish willow shortbows, and 1500 or so willow longbows. I think we make like a slight profit doing this by doing unstrung bows, but it is pretty slow. I'm just happy to do something that's chilling AFK. And darts were a bit too expensive for my taste at the moment. I still need to get access to some better money makers before I start dumping money like that into skilling. Next up, we gotta get 48 herb lore, and the way we're gonna do that is super attacks. About the same XP per GP as energy potions, but we need to make a lot less of them. And there we go, 48 herb lore. We now have every level required for all the medium diaries. So now I'm going to go work on the Kandarin diaries so that once we start our torso grind, we can actually tick that one off. One of the tasks is to complete a wave of barbarian assault, which we'll just do as and when we get a torso grind. I'm not going to go there and like join a team and just do wave 1 and leave. That'd be kind of scummy. We also need to kill the queen for the hard tasks. Hopefully we get some successful full runs in when we do the torso grind. So the Kandarin diary actually gives a bunch of really nice small rewards. Starting off with 10% extra XP from cutting maple trees in Sears Village, which is a pretty common training spot. 10% more marks of grace from the Sears Village rooftop course. Again, another really common training spot. And 5% increased chance to save a harvest life from the Cathby herb patch. For those who don't know what that means, you just occasionally get more herbs from the Cathby herb patch. The hard diaries actually give you even more incredible upgrades, like increased chance for bolts to proc, which is massive for using crossbows. And the headgear itself actually works as a light source when you wear it, so you can save an inventory spot in some places. Okay, only 3 more left to go, and the first of those 3 we're going to be knocking out is the desert diaries. So again, we had a few quests to knock out, notably Spirits of the Elid, and Anakra's Lament, which gives you the Camulet that lets you teleport to this tomb. I'll be honest, I still have no idea what the point of this teleport is, but that's probably because I still have no idea how to get out of this tomb. There we go, easy desert tasks done, as well as the... Wait, where'd he go? Come back. Medium tasks done. I'll be honest, the desert mediums are kind of pointless. It gives the Pharaoh Scepter up to 25 charges. You probably don't have one. At least the necklace can teleport you to Nada. One diary that isn't pointless, however, is the Morytania mediums. Now, this is another one that gets a lot better when you get to the hards, but the mediums give you a 5% Slayer XP boost in the Slayer Tower. And with how slow Slayer is, very, very appreciated, even if you can't cannon in there. For these, we needed to do the Rumdeal quest, which gives you a Holy Wrench, which, considering the price of prayer pots, is actually pretty dang useful for us. And we also needed to do the Cabin Fever quest. Now, this quest has this RNG part with the cannon where it can randomly explode, and most times that I do this quest, this cannon explodes a lot. Either they've changed something in old school, or this was my god run. Okay, the only 2 tasks I have left to get the Morytania mediums done are get a Slayer task from Mashna, and since my current task is Dagonoths on Waterbirth Island, which is 140 AFK Rex kills, I'm not really wanting to skip that in order to complete this. And since I'm not going to be completing the easy Morytanias until I get back to the Slayer grind, I'm also not going to do the Lair of Tarn Razorlaw until I've got a Ring of Slaying, so I can just teleport there and skip the whole annoying actual maze bit of it. So, Morytania tasks we will complete when we get back to the Slayer grind. And of course, we've saved the best for last. In order to complete the Western Province's medium diary, we need to take a glider to Feldip Hills, which requires us to do one small favour, or at least the first half of one small favour, at which point you may as well just do the whole thing. And I'll be honest, I was expecting this to be so much worse than it actually was. We might not have lodestones, but between stamina potions and the general suite of teleports available, this quest doesn't actually take that long. I don't think I broke any speed records, but it wasn't like an hour long or anything. There we go, one small favour done. Only a 40-minute run, not the worst. 20k per XP makes it worth. And that was the only requirement we had, so now onto the diaries themselves. I have a bit of advice for anyone doing the Western Province's diaries. Do the chompy tasks last, and as you hit the hunt requirements for each diary tier, go and collect the reward, because part of the reward is an increase in the number of chompies that spawn every time you get a spawn. For example, easies give you a 25% chance of a double spawn, which speeds up getting the kills for medium a fair bit. As for actually hunting the chompies themselves, I've got 20 Ogre Bellows, a few ranging potions, and 3 spare inventory spaces. This is because you can only hold 3 bloated toads at a time, and basically you just fill up all the bellows at once, and then just keep placing 3 toads and waiting for chompies. This way is a lot more chill than having fewer bellows and keep going back and forth between the pool, the toad, the chompy, and I'm assuming it also results in more per hour. And then we can go and collect our last diary item for now, that being the Western Banner 2, which gives you a 50% chance of 2 chompies appearing per spawn, and 3 arrows every day from Rans. Wait, this diary just makes it easier to hunt chompies. It gets a lot better later on. And that's all the medium diaries completed, or at least close to it. So now whenever we want to tackle some hard diaries, it should be nice and simple. Still decent requirements, but much less to do. And that'll also be where we're calling this episode, and I'm going to leave you off with a teaser of what's coming next. Usual reminder at the end of the video that we're going to be live on Twitch an hour after this video goes live. That's 7 PM game time. Join us there for some live progress.